How's everybody doing? Today's video, I'm going to have to address the fact that Eddie Van Halen passed away. Now, I'll start by saying that I am not a very big casual Van Halen listener. I would say that I've heard their popular songs. I've probably not heard their entire catalog. Granted, you could probably make the argument that their music was kind of before my time, so that's not an excuse not to have heard all their music, but I have heard their music to the extent of what I've found to be educationally beneficial to me. And I really didn't even come up from a shred style of learning guitar. Like, my guitar teacher was pretty much a blues guy. But all that being said, that actually makes what I'm about to say probably more impactful. You know, I can't deny that as a player, I've been hugely impacted by Eddie Van Halen's influence. And I think that stands to say for probably anybody, any player today who has like an ounce of shred in their repertoire probably has Van Halen to thank for some of that. He innovated, I mean, granted, he didn't invent the hammer-on or anything by that measure, but he innovated tapping and popularized it to the point where everybody uses that technique, even me. So the guitar community has to acknowledge that Eddie Van Halen pushed the shred genre hard forward. Like, he shoved it forward. And there's so many players now that are indebted to that for how much fun that they've had using his techniques. So, much less if they'd gone out and toured and made money. But just as far as like just even sitting at home shredding, that can be very, very fun. You have Van Halen to thank for a lot of that. And again, I'm not very well researched at all. I'm kind of going off of things that I've read in the past. I'm not really an Eddie Van Halen historian, but I do believe that he is responsible for popularizing a lot of guitar tone innovations and technologies. For example, I think it was on one of his early sort of, you know, whatever he was playing that was like that Frankenstrat sort of style, where he was one of the first people, if not the first person, probably that I'm aware of, where he direct mounted a pickup to the body rather than having it mounted on a pick guard, which it would have been on a Strat, or like on a guitar like this, it's mounted on a ring, so the pickup is suspended versus being screwed right into the body. Now, I'm not trying to start a debate on this of all videos, but the logic behind that is that when the pickup is mounted to the body, the way that the body is resonating is affecting the pickup versus the material that it's mounted to. I am not really a big Strat guy myself, but I have had a few Strats, and I can tell you that having pickguard mounted pickups on a Strat definitely gives the guitar the sound of the pickguard a little bit. It gives it this sort of like, it just resonates differently when you can kind of tell that it's on like a sheet of material that's resonating. If that makes any sense. And then you play something like a Chapman guitar, which has taken Eddie Van Halen's idea of direct mounting the pickups for all their models that I can think of. And you don't have any of that sort of nasally pickguard resonance to worry about. It's just direct mounted. EVH, as far as I know, that was his thing. He pushed that forward, and companies like Chapman, and I'm sure tons of other sort of shred or performance-based brands have used that idea that he basically brought forward. And then even a little bit from an article that I was sent the other day, they were saying that he didn't even have a tone pot, and there was really no strict logic according to this article. They said he just didn't know how to wire the tone pot, so he left it off. But a lot of people these days would tell you that if you eliminate the tone pot on your guitar, that whole potentiometer and sort of wiring, that whole aspect of the wiring, in other words, your sound would be going from the pickup to the volume pot to the jack with no tone pot. There is an argument that I've heard a lot of people make even to this day that they say not having all that stuff gives you a much more wide open tone, because just the material itself, even if you leave it on 10, there is some resistance in the potentiometer. It's not making a perfect connection, which stands to reason. There's a lot of really fascinating stuff that I've been seeing just in the past couple days about how Eddie Van Halen selected the woods of his guitars and the different configurations of his guitars. He was obviously somebody who really could appreciate all those different aspects and how it contributed to the tone and performance of the instrument, which is something that I'm hugely into. And you know, if you're any younger than me, you probably have no reason to be any more versed in Eddie Van Halen, you know, knowledge than me. So I would encourage you to go check that stuff out, because there's plenty of articles talking about how he selected his gear. Obviously, in the past few years, the whole EVH brand of amps, that's a whole other thing. He was always somebody who was very, very into all the aspects of what made his sound and his ability to convey and perform what he wanted. He would go through his entire rig and sort of fine-tune every little last detail, from in the early days screwing a pickup onto the body to, you know, most recently developing amps. You know, that's pretty impressive stuff. I mean, even if, like in my case, my personal preference is not the sound of an EVH amp, but you have to give respect to somebody who goes to that much length to get the sound that they want. You know, it can't be understated, really. I mean, not being the biggest Eddie Van Halen listener as I ever have historically been, I really would never have guessed that I would be so impacted by his passing, really. But when you look back and you think about everything that he's contributed to the world of guitar, the athletic technique aspect of shredding, all the way down to the different materials of guitars and amps and designing his signal chain and everything, his influence in the world of guitar cannot be understated. So with that being said, may he rest in peace. If you're watching this and you are less of a Van Halen guy than myself, I strongly encourage you to go at least watch his playing. You know, you don't have to read all the articles about what he used and everything, but it is very interesting. That stuff is very interesting to me. And clearly he had a huge impact on probably just about every player that exists today, whether they even directly know it or not. He's just one of those guys. So anyway, if you like this video, don't forget to share it, subscribe, turn on notifications. I will have some more regular content going forward and some more music going forward. Rest in peace, EVH. I will see you guys next time.